And then my phone rings, and it's an unknown number, and I answer it, and he says, "Hey, this is Dr. So-and-so from Fillmore, Utah. There's been a car accident. There's been a 22-car pileup. Everyone's dead except one person." And I remember falling to the ground. I remember I'm just laying on the ground crying, screaming, and I'm staring at my phone, and I just hear "one survivor" kind of echoed in my head. So I remember I pick up the phone, and I'm just thinking and hearing "one survivor." And my brother Race, he's like a state championship wrestler. He's just like crazy, tough, weird guy. And so I thought when they said "one survivor," I'm like, it's going to be my brother Race. And so I remember picking up the phone, just praying to God, like, don't let it be Race. Because if it's Race, my whole family's gone.
Welcome back to the Get Back Podcast, where we get to bring you the greatest comeback stories by the biggest names. My name's Greg Kelly. I'm right here with my co-host, Zeke Pike.
And we're extremely excited to be here with a good friend of ours who has an incredible get back story, who really exemplifies coming from pain and discovering purpose. And so today we're here with Mason Sawyer, good friend of ours from Utah. And Mason, we're excited to have you on the Get Back Podcast.
Yeah.
And can't wait to hear your story, man.
Yeah, we went to lunch. It was fun. And talking football, talking sports, talking prison time. It's been good, man.
That's right.
It's been
That's
good.
right. So Mason just got a red-eye flight, right?
Dude, I'm fucking tired, dude. I haven't slept. Me and my girlfriend Sammy are sleeping with our luggage at the pool.
Yeah.
It was nice though.
But you haven't got checked in yet.
No, we just got checked in like a half hour ago. So we're good.
Well, man, we're
But I caught the red eye.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And you're here. You're in South Florida. Probably a little bit warmer than it is in Utah.
Yeah, I love Florida. If it wasn't so expensive, I might just live down here.
You see how humid it is, though?
Yeah. I mean, I served a church mission in Alabama. It was pretty humid there. I didn't mind it.
Yeah. I'm from Texas, and we don't have this humidity, but I told Zeke earlier today, I was like, I haven't sweated this much out of my pits since, I don't know when, since I've been in New Orleans.
I'm accustomed to it now. I've embraced the sweat. You just got to embrace the sweat.
Well, you guys got to get to Utah, and then I'll take you snowboarding.
Yeah, that would
be
dry.
Ideal. It's dry there, though, right?
Yeah, it's heating up right now. But yeah, I'm glad to hear it all.
So, man, I'll tell you, it's incredible because with this podcast, we're really looking for individuals who exemplify what it means to get back, right? What it means to, really come from a period of pain and really discover your purpose and turning light, from darkness. And I think, I came across your reel, which I don't want to tear too much into your story. I want to let you talk about that, but when I came across this reel, the authenticity and the vulnerability and the transparency that was shared of an experience and a tragedy that brought me on the other side of the screen to tears. I mean, I was torn by it, and I shared it with these guys, and I'm like, we're gonna get them on the pod. And I reached out to you, and I'm a big believer in the way that we've been pursuing this podcast. I believe God's going to bring the right people to the show to share the right message that needs to be heard by the people on the other side of these cameras. And so I reached out to you, and it was like, without hesitation,
instant,
without hesitation. Yes. And so for me, I want to give you your flowers for that, because for what you've gone through over the last couple of years, and I know you'll get into that, to be where you are now, just saying yes to serving others, saying yes to sharing your experiences with others, to me is inspirational. To me, allows me to understand that I'm exactly where I need to be. And so I just wanted to give you your flowers for a second. And, I really want you to have the ability to share your story and, where Mason, the baller on the court, to, growing to where you are now in your life. And I think Greg and I both are anxious to hear that journey for you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys love football growing up. I did too, but I was more of a basketball guy. So I grew up just shooting hoops every day in the driveway, and my dream was to go to the NBA. And I thought I was, until I went to this national basketball tournament in Orlando and got my ass kicked. Oh shit.
How
So,
tall?
like,
Wait, how tall are you?
I'm like 5'9" on a good day.
On a good day.
5'10" maybe.
Yeah.
I think I was 5'10" on the roster, but 5'9".
Right.
Did you ever look up to like Tony Parker? Or,
Oh yeah, Steve Nash was kind of my guy
yeah,
that I looked up to
Steve
because he's
Nash,
smaller guy.
small
Facts.
guy. Yeah.
But dude, I put all my eggs in the basketball basket. Like that's all I did, and I was good, dude. I was first team All State. I helped my high school team win a state championship my senior year. And then I met this girl named Courtney in high school. And I thought girls, I mean, I'm trying to go play college ball.
Yeah.
So I thought girls were like distraction. Like, no, like get out of here.
Right.
I got to get to the gym. I'm 5'9". I need to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I met this girl, Courtney, and we just clicked, dude. And we went to every school dance together. And we just kind of became, like, by the time our senior year rolled around, we got voted most likely to marry your high school sweetheart. Like, we were with each other throughout all of high school. And I end up serving an LDS mission in Alabama, and she waits for me for 2 years, writes me 3 letters a week. I come home, we get married. And
now that was for the Mormon religion.
yeah,
For those that don't understand, I actually had some buddies that went to I had a good friend of mine that went to BYU.
Oh,
and
yeah.
wasn't able to play for 2 years because he had to do them. So
oh yeah.
explain what that is, just for the audience.
It's just like a church mission. Like when I went, it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like you can't talk to family for 2 years.
But that's like a part, the Mormon religion. That's like something. You
like
have to
I didn't want to go.
Yeah,
I wanted to go play college ball.
Right.
But my whole community's like, you got to go to your mission first. So I'm like, all right. So
And your own personal beliefs. This is just something you didn't want to do. Like,
like I said, dude, like it wasn't my dream as a little kid to go on a mission. It was my dream to go play college ball. Like that's what I wanted to do.
yeah.
But it was like put God first type of thing. So I went on a mission. So yeah, but I mean, I don't regret it though. I like those 2 years. It was some good times, man. Go Team Jesus. But I get back and we get married like 3 months later. I get a basketball scholarship to go play for this school called Dixie State. It's now called Utah Tech in southern Utah. And so me and Courtney are married. I'm playing basketball.
So you got married young.
I got married at 20
and
23.
do so probably to the religion because of beliefs. A lot of people in the Mormon religion are like
the LDS religion. That was we're right on pace. That was normal. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the thing is like you can't really have sex until you get married. So
Right.
all these young Mormons like, well, let's get married so we can go to Pound Town. So like anyway.
And actually, what's so crazy is if you are a couple that pursue faith in your relationship, because my wife and I, we waited till we were married, but like, of course we, high school came around, and, there was times where we really, really wanted to, and like, but at the same time, like we're both active in our faith. It doesn't matter what denomination you're in. Actually, the local church says if it'd actually be better for you guys to think about getting married, if you're at that point,
so
if you want to do that.
Yeah, you get it. It was like the same idea as that. So we got married. So I'm playing basketball, and Courtney, she's just had this natural ability to care for people and want to look after people. So she became a nurse. So she's going to the nursing program.
And this is like you're like 20?
Yeah, I'm 23, 24. And then my senior year, I was 26, and I graduate. My senior year, we have our first kid named Riggins. You guys are football guy. You're from Texas. You guys ever seen the TV show Friday Night Lights?
Yeah.
So we got his name from Tim Riggins for that show. We love that show so much. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Anyway.
It's a great motto to live by.
We have Riggins, and dude, being a college athlete with a kid is, I wouldn't recommend it. It was hard.
Right.
So we have Riggs. I graduate, and I graduate with a degree in psychology, and then I get offered from my old high school to be a basketball coach and teach psychology at my old high school. I'm like, yeah, I love basketball. I love working with kids. Perfect. So I accept that job. So me and Courtney and Riggins, we moved back up north where we're from. I'm teaching. She's a nurse. We have 2 more kids. Blue. That's our second kid. We have weird names for our kids. It's like
It's
a
awesome. I like
Utah thing, I think. I don't know.
that.
Then we had a baby girl, Frankie. And dude, I remember talking to my dad after we had Frankie. And I'm like, Dad, I think I'm the happiest guy in the world.
Wow.
And he's like, what? I'm like, I have Courtney, I have these kids, I have everything. And I said that to my dad because I remember as a kid, I was telling my dad about Bill Gates. Like, you know Bill Gates, the richest guy? So I'm just talking about money to my dad. And my dad looks at me, he's like, you know what, Mace? He's cool or whatever, but I'm actually the richest guy in the world. I'm like, Dad, you're a therapist. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you buy marshmallow ladies, you can't even get Lucky Charms. Like, it's not rich.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have you. I have your 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters. I have your mom. Like, Mace, like, this is what it's about. Like, no one's richer than me. And so that's kind of what I grew up with. That was my perspective of life and what you should be looking for and striving for. And once I felt like I had it, I went back to my dad and I told him that. And then I get a job offer. So me, Courtney, Riggins, Blue, Frankie, we're living in West Jordan, Utah. I get a job offer back in southern Utah where I played college basketball from this basketball complex called Nets on Fire. And they're looking to hire a guy to run their AAU program, train basketball players. And that's basically the whole job.
Yeah.
Like my dream job. That's all shit.
Yeah.
So me and Courtney are like, hell yeah, take that job. So we accept the job. We moved back down to St. George. And Courtney's a nurse, and I'm taking on this new job. And we're loving it. And then we have a family reunion planned for that summer. And the family reunion lands on the first weekend of the first tournament that I'm coaching. And I just took this job. So I remember telling my family, like, hey, me and Courtney and the kids, we can't make it to the family reunion this year. I just took on this job. Can't do it. And they're like, yeah, no worries. So a couple days go by, and my wife, Courtney, that Friday, she's like, hey, Mace, you're going to be coaching this tournament all weekend. I think I'm just going to take the kids, go to the family reunion. I'll be back Sunday. Like, yeah, that sounds great. And I told Courtney, you should call my brother Race because he also lives like 20 minutes from us. He's going to the same family reunion, obviously. So I'm like, call Race, see if he can go with you guys or carpool together or caravan something. So my wife calls Race and they kind of have the same thing going on. So my brother Race can go and his youngest son Ryder can go to the family reunion. But Race's wife Keisha and their other 2 kids can't.
Yeah.
So my brother Race and my nephew Ryder get in the car with my family. They go to the family reunion. I coached basketball that weekend. And then on that Sunday coming back, I'm waiting for them in my bedroom. And I get a phone call from my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, Keisha. And she's like, Mace, have you heard anything from Courtney or Race? And I'm like, no, but they should be home any minute. And Courtney texted me when they filled up for gas about 2 hours ago. So I'm sure everything's fine. She's like, I just have a weird feeling. Like, I don't know. Like, let me know if you hear from her. So I hang up with her and I call Courtney, fake her voicemail, which is weird. And then I call my brother Ace, same thing. And I'm just kind of like, just standing there, like, just kind of thinking. And then my phone rings and it's an unknown number and I answer it. And he says, hey, this is Dr. So-and-so from Fillmore, Utah. There's been a car accident. So before he keeps going, because I just had this conversation with Keisha. So I put it on speaker. He's still talking. And I text Keisha. I'm like, Keisha, there's been a car accident. That's why they're not home yet. Come over and pick me up. Because Courtney took our car. I just have my motorcycle and I can't drive us over there to get them. So, I mean, in my mind, guys, when I heard car accident, where my mind went was Courtney and Race are hurt in the hospital.
Sure.
Kids are in the hallway freaking out. we got to get our asses over there.
Yeah.
So I heard in text Keisha, like, come pick me up. We got to get to Fillmore.
And how far are you from?
From Fillmore? Like 2 hours.
Okay.
It's like the midway point.
Right.
And so I just text her that, not a lot of other information. So she's on her way. And this guy keeps talking and he's asking me a lot of questions. And I think he just wants to make sure it's the right guy before he tells me the worst news. And finally, I think I remember saying something like, what's going on? Like, what happened? He's like, there's been a 22 car pileup. Everyone's dead except one person. And I remember falling to the ground. And it was like a very much out of body experience. Like the noises I was making, I remember thinking like, where are these noises? And then realizing like, that's me making these noises. So it's kind of out of body, but very much in body. Could feel. I just knew. I just could. As I was falling to the ground, I could just feel it. And I'm kind of going through all the stages of grief. So I'm going through shock. I'm going through denial. Like I remember telling him, "You're kidding. Like you're kidding." He's like, "No."
And you're like on the way as you get this news.
Yeah.
And they're not giving you really any details.
Yeah. And so I remember I'm just laying on the ground crying, screaming. And I'm staring at my phone. And I just hear one survivor kind of echoed in my head. And as I'm going through like all these different emotions, there's like, I call him like the survivor guy. I don't know, but there's this guy in my head that's like, hey, you need to pick up the phone. You need to start telling people. You got to like, we got to keep moving here. Can't just lay on the ground crying for her. So I remember I pick up the phone and I'm just thinking and hearing one survivor. And my brother Race, he's like a state championship wrestler. He's just like crazy, tough, weird guy. And so I thought when they said one survivor, I'm like, it's going to be my brother Race. And so I remember picking up the phone, just praying to God, like, don't let it be Race. Because if it's Race, my whole family's gone. And so I pick up the phone and he said the survivor's a 3-year-old. So I fall back down to the ground and my wife's gone. And the car accident was so bad that they said I couldn't see her body. They'd let me see her hand if I wanted to see her hand, which I chose not to do. And then Riggins, like he was a week away from being 6. I mean, he never did anything wrong. I mean, he's just an innocent kid. My brother Race is gone and my nephew Ryder's gone. That's what I know for sure. So I'm dealing with that. And then one survivor could mean Frankie, because she could be mistaken for 3. She's 2, but I don't know what they're thinking. Or it could mean my son Blue, who was 3 at the time, but he was 4 days away from turning 4. So like, I'm not sure who they're talking about. And the other thing I should probably mention is there's probably a good chance that whoever is talking to me did a very good job of explaining to me everything. And I'm just not hearing it very good. So I'm not trying to make anyone look bad, but I'm having a tough time figuring out who the survivor is because I want it to be both of them. And he says the survivor has blonde hair, blue eyes. And like my son Blue has blonde hair, blue eyes. And they said he's not responding, he's not talking, but he's alive, he's okay. We're going to life flight him to the hospital in Salt Lake City. And then I remember the doctor saying, I need to tell Keisha. And I said, well, she's on her way to pick me up. I can tell her, but I'm not telling her unless I know for sure everyone else is dead. And he's like, yeah, everyone else is dead. So I'm like, okay, I'll tell him. So I fall back. I get off the phone with him and I fall back to the ground just crying. And survivor guy kicks in. He's like, you got you got to get out of the apartment and you got to get to the main road because Keisha doesn't know what apartment number you're in. So you got to get to the main road so she can see you because you got to tell her. So I remember I'd finally made it out of my apartment and I collapsed and I'd just kind of slap the pavement and cry. And then, I don't know, I just do that for a minute and I get back up. I do that a couple of times and I finally make it to the main road and I just collapse on the sidewalk and I'm just screaming bloody murder, slapping the pavement. And at this point, neighbors come out and they're like, what the hell is going on? I think I told them what was going on. I don't remember that part very well. I do remember hearing them say, just make sure he doesn't go on the road. Like, let's just keep him out of the road. So I'm just laying there. And then I see Keisha's car turn. So I stand up and I kind of wave her and she slows down and I just jump in the back of her car. And she's driving and she has her daughter Faith in the passenger seat. And I mean, they can tell like this isn't going to be good. And so I don't know how to tell them. So I just say, there's been a car accident. Everyone's dead except Blue made me. And my niece Faith, lets out this noise and she just opens the car door and runs. She just takes off running. And then I turn and I see Keisha in front of me, my sister-in-law, and her head drops and she says, my precious Ryder, because she just realized she lost her husband and son. And so we're just crying. And then me and Keisha are just crying in this apartment parking lot. And I have to go get Blue. And so I have to leave Keisha and Faith. And I've felt absolutely horrible. Like, this is rock bottom for them, and I have to leave you here alone. So I have a buddy pick me up, Jake, and he drives me 4 hours, and we have to drive through a car accident to get there, but he gets me to the hospital. My sister Carly is there waiting for me, and I kind of just collapse in her arms, and we're crying together, and she takes me up to the hospital room where Blue's at, and Blue's alive. And I remember telling my buddy Jake when he was taking me to the hospital, I said, Jake, if this isn't Blue or if Blue's not okay, like, I'm going to kill myself. Like, I'm done.
Sure. Yeah.
And he just, no. So me and Blue spent one night in the hospital. They asked us all the questions, like, do you want to donate their organs? Do you want to do all this and that? And then we walked out of the hospital the next morning into the rest into this, into now here we are. That was July 25th, 2021. So we're coming up on 3 years soon.
Wow. Mason, thank you for sharing that. You know, man, I think of you said earlier that you felt like you're like the happiest man in the world and you got everything you ever need, and you expressed to your dad and your dad told you, I'm the richest man in the world, and
Yeah.
you followed that ideology, that framework from your father. And did you feel like your whole world just came crashing down?
Yeah, I just felt like I was just, I don't know. And I'm still very much in that headspace, like 2.5 years later, not doing that much better, honestly.
Well, it wasn't that long ago.
No, I'm just able to
Yeah.
talk about it better, but I mean, I'll say the first year, it was, I felt like I didn't kill myself, so good job. That's kind of how I treated myself, was like, hey, like, we're still here, like, you're doing good, man. Like, and I mean,
Do you feel like Blue gave you a reason to keep living?
I mean, we talked about that at lunch, and I think it's on your Instagram profile, like, turn purpose to pain or whatever. but like, you, and it's said all the time, like you have, like, what's your why? Like, why are you doing this? Like, what's your why?
Yeah.
And I think it's so true. Like, Blue kept me here. Like, I was in this, I didn't want to live because I just hated myself. Like, why wasn't I in the car? Why? You know?
Yeah.
So I still haven't been able to really forgive myself for that. So
Yeah.
I hate myself a lot, and then I'm just angry at what happened, and but I couldn't kill myself because of Blue. So I was in this weird limbo of not dying for Blue, but I just wasn't doing anything. I was literally laying in bed, drinking myself to death, drugs, alcohol, anything to numb the pain, because it was just too much. Like, I just couldn't really deal with it. So Blue was my why. And everyone needs a why. It doesn't have to be a kid. It could be whatever. But,
Absolutely.
I had a purpose. Through all the pain and whatever, I had Blue, and Blue gave me purpose. And that was enough for me to not give up. And then I found therapy, and instead of never talking about it, I started falling in love talking about it. And now I just talk about it all the time. And podcasting has kind of become my therapy, and my why has gone from just worrying about Blue to also now podcasting and public speaking, and just trying to help other people in their grief, because we're all dealing with something, and we don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it.
You expressed that launch that it's healing for you.
Yeah.
To do these podcasts. And honestly, man, like, I can't even imagine, because my wife, man, is like best friend. We met in high school too. And as you're just saying this and talking about it, bro, it's like stuff I was going through in prison. If it wasn't for her to stay by my side and be that rock for me when I was trying to find myself, I mean, yeah, man, I'm honestly speechless. I'm just pretty overcome with emotions that you're here, bro. And I commend you for it. I commend you speaking about it. I commend you getting on podcasts and talking about it, because I promise you, there's a listener, an audience right now that's watching you, may have lost somebody, going through the grief of loss. And you're a hero to them right now. And I think you've found a tremendous purpose, not only in continuing to be a father for your son, and man, I'm just so happy, bro, you're still here. I mean, that's unbelievable.
I mean, I'm just, I knew it was going to be it was going to be emotional to hear you talk about it, just because, again, to know, again, I lost my dad in December of 2021, and I know how hard grief is. Like, I've dealt with it. I deal with it every day, and I think that's exactly what you're saying is, does it ever get better? A little bit. Do you learn to just live with it and can continue to move forward? Yeah. Does it ever really go away? No. And so I want to dive into, and we can go as deep as you want to go, but it's easy for us when we look back on difficult things that happen in our life and say, if I would have done this, if I would have been driving the car, if I would have never told my brother to carpool, all the things that we play in my head, right? The same things I play in my head. If I would have came home earlier, I would have never went on my trip to Colombia, and I would have came home, maybe my dad would still be alive, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most dangerous games you can play as well, is start playing all these scenarios in your head, because then you start to place all this blame on yourself.
Yeah, I think if you think about it for too long, you're just gonna find ways to, oh, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I just think that's what I did, and doing still.
I mean, for the trauma side of it, because I think with this situation, it's traumatic, and I think a lot of people experience trauma in their life, whether it's at a young age or at an old age. At some point in your life, and hopefully not, but you're likely that you're going to experience some form of trauma, right? Whether it's one trauma is larger than the other trauma. Trauma is something that's really deep rooted that can cause us to lay in bed and drink our pain away. And so, like, for you, I know you talk about, you speaking about it is therapeutic. You getting therapy is therapeutic, and all that sounds good, right? Like, even for me in my life, like, it all sounds good, but the trauma is still something that, like, we have to battle on a daily basis. And I'm sure every morning when you wake up in the morning, I mean, if we're being 100% realistic, probably the first thought on your mind in the morning.
Oh yeah, mornings and nights are not good.
Yeah.
When I was, we were talking about the what ifs. I kind of want to get back to that because I think everybody struggles with the what ifs. And from my story, the what if was, what if I never moved into that in-home daycare? Would have been spiraled off to me being falsely accused and then getting wrongfully convicted and having to go through all of that. So still to this day, how do you handle and how do you struggle with the what ifs?
What ifs just, they haunt you, dude. They just haunt you. And one thing that I've learned just by going and dealing with my grief is you have to focus on what you can control.
That's true.
And the what if game is a game of not in your control. Like, it's done. And I think acceptance is hard, dude. Like, accepting your fate. Acceptance is brutal. And so many people run from whatever it is in their life. It doesn't have to be losing a loved one. It could be whatever it is, but people run from it.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to accept this. But the blessing of acceptance is you get rid of the what ifs. Like, okay, this is the world we're in. This is the hand we've been dealt. All we have control over now is what are we going to do about it? How are we going to play this hand? And that's why I love the quote, life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it. And the what if game is this, you're stuck in, you're not in the present moment, which isn't healthy usually. And you're just whining and complaining really with the what ifs. And so on my good days are the days that I can accept it early and are the days that I help people. When I can help people, those are my best days. But I still have days where I wake up, guys, and I can't accept it and I don't want to, and I run from it and I drink and I smoke and I still struggle with those things. And, a lot of people can commend me for getting through stuff, and I have to remind them I haven't gone through anything. This really is very hard and it sucks very bad still. And this sucks.
I think, Mason, you're going to look back 5 years from now and see what you've gone through because you are still going through your journey of grief and pain, no matter how much you sit down. I know you're the type of person to sit down and can separate yourself from your pain. I think you're analytically and intelligent enough to wake up and notice that you're having a bad day because of the trauma, because of the things that you've endured and the loss. I have to do that. I have to step back, and when I'm being out of line with people I love, I'm like, I'm wondering why I'm acting this way, and it's because of the trauma I endured being in prison. And I have to sit down and sit myself down and sit down and say, you know what, this is the world we live in. And I've kind of developed more of like a, I don't want to use the word stoic, but I've come to an acceptance, in scripture. In John, it talks about in this world that we will have trouble, right? He says to take heart and have peace because he's overcome the world. It doesn't matter if you're a believer or not, but you have to understand that in this world, there will be trouble. We live in a broken world. That's guaranteed. Now, are we the type of person to wallow in agony, or are we the type of person to keep moving and keep fighting? And you were talking about the survivor inside of you. I can't sit down right now because I still have somebody that's counting on me to continue to live. And I think sitting down and separating yourself was like, I'm living for now that one I still have.
Yeah.
You know, little do you know that that's ultimately all the purpose you need, and then all those stuff will come about, right?
I mean, you woke up every day in prison, like,
Yeah.
this is shitty and unfair. Like, what'd you do? What helped you get through that?
So
Your wife?
it was a mixture of a lot of things. And I think the first decision I had to make was to continue to live. Is that quitting's not an option?
Well, you asked me at
Kill-
lunch, and you're like, "What's the other option, Mason?" I'm just
Yeah, we sat down at lunch. I know it's not even a laughing topic, but it's
yeah.
it's like, it's true. I mean, what's the other option other than putting your chin down and keeping going? It's offing yourself, or in your case, in my case, in Zeke's case, we all have adversity we've gone through and perseverance or things that we persevered through. And now, by the grace of God, we've seen the other side of it, which not many people get to see, right? But the ones that do, how dare we? How dare we sit on the sideline and not go and be of service of the people that are still in our path? We have to be that person that leads by example and say, hey, take my hand. I got a way out for you. You know, so regardless of how you see the world or how you see faith, and we're always going to promote faith on our podcast because I try to live by the best example of a Christian I possibly can. To me, living not as a Christian is not because I've tasted God in my life. I've tasted Christ. I've tasted a miracle in my life that I've opened a door that I can't close. So I choose to live that way. But regardless of all that, being an example of service is the greatest purpose you could ever have. And I think you're living it right now. And so I commend you for that.
Yeah, I remember, thanks, man. I remember my first therapy appointment, and I tell my therapist the night of the accident, and then I look at him like, I don't want to live, but I can't kill myself because of blue. I just looked at him. Because I've been to 5 or 6 other therapists at this point, and that's usually what I do, and then they just, like, they wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked it, honestly. Like, yeah, like, fuck you. Like, and so I say that same thing to Matt, my therapist now, and he looks at me and he's like, you know, Mace, this car accident's not about you. And I was so pissed off, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, this car accident's not about Blue either. And then he said, this car accident is about all these other people you now have the opportunity to help. And he said, Mace, if you wanted to lay in bed forever and drink yourself to death or kill yourself, I don't think anyone would blame you. And in my head, I'm like, dude, do you know, like, I'll fucking do it, man. Like, can you even say that to me? Like, is this legal? Like, but that's what he said. And then he said, but Mace, like, tomorrow someone's going to lose a spouse, someone's going to lose a son, someone's going to lose a daughter. Like, you can help all of them if you want. Yeah. And it wasn't like a 180 turnaround for me, but I do remember leaving that appointment like, I don't think he's wrong.
Do you know how many people, though, are going through, and this is where I have to remind myself of this, is there's so many other people that are going through the same thing you're going through, the same thing that I'm going through. There's other people that are sitting in prison right now. There's other families that are affected because their loved ones are in prison right now.
And no one fucking talks about it.
Right, nobody talks about it, though. And so it takes a bold, courageous, willing individual to be like, I'm not anywhere I need to be, but I know where I'm going and I'm not afraid to start talking about it, you know? And so that's the reality, is that people who are facing situations of tragedy, situations of unfortunate, you know, circumstances, situations of abuse, whatever it may be, you got to be willing to at least acknowledge that this has happened. I can't run from it. I can't hide from it. I can't bury it because it's there. It's, you know, the only answer is to start talking about it.
The only way out is through.
That's right.
Yeah. And I remember I went through, and sometimes I still go through it, but like this anger in my grief. and almost like an ego to it. Like no one understands me.
Yeah.
No one could fit in my shoes. No one gets me. And that's victim. Like if you convince yourself no one can give you advice, no one can criticize, like you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
Like, and it took me a while to notice. And honestly, starting my own podcast helped me with this. Like, I honestly thought for a while like everyone else was happy, and I just had a shit hand dealt to me. And now I know, like, oh, we're all going through something.
Right.
And that one of the favorite things about my podcast is I just get the most random, average Joe people, and you sit them down and like, tell me about your 10%, and it's fucking awful usually. Like we're all going through something, and if you're not, just wait,
Just wait.
give it a
Just
minute,
hold on.
it'll
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you were in that state of grief and pain, you were looking at your life through the lens of pain and not through the lens of purpose. And a lot of times people that kick circles and say, woe is me, and they live a pity party, and they say, hey, check on me, see if I'm okay. I'm going through this, I'm going through that. That's great. But at the same time, when do you start looking through the lens of purpose in your life? And when you do that, everything changes. You know, everything changes.
Yeah, I like what you said. It was very. What did you say about the? Is anyway. I loved what you just said right there, but I think I still have a pity party once a day or maybe twice a day for me.
You're human. You're human.
But what
yeah.
I think. Okay, this is something that I think might be true, but okay, I can be miserable and mad and sad and throw a pity party.
Yeah.
But I can still be nice and help someone else. Like that has nothing to do with them. So I like, my pain shouldn't hinder me. I'm still capable of doing good things despite my pain.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a weird, fucked up, beautiful combination of both. Like, and my therapist helped me realize that. Is like, Mace, you're going to be miserable the rest of your life. Like, this is going to suck forever. Can you also still be happy and keep going? Yeah, you can.
See, you're looking through the lens of purpose here.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking
I
through
think
the
it's
lens of
kind of
pain,
maybe both.
Yeah, yeah. Most people that look through the lens of pain, they're everything you just said, but they're the ones that are keyboard warriors behind a keyboard talking crap to you on your posts.
Right.
They're not a good person. They're not nice. So the deflection of their pain and their misery and their agony go through a keyboard behind closed doors, probably in a dark room, sitting in their boxers, eating a bowl of cereal, playing video games, right? They're not there to help anybody. They're there just to feed their misery. So being a great person and not wearing your pain on your sleeve, even though there's stuff still going on in here, right? You're acting in your purpose to not be a burden for somebody else.
Yeah. Like the people I lost, like my wife, she would help people. She would love people. And so just being married to her and with her for so long, I think that's had an incredible impact on me. Like,
how long were you guys married?
8 years, but we were dated since we were 15.
Yeah. Same thing with my wife. We started dating when we were 14.
But like, I'm really grateful that I was married to her because she changed. If I was married to someone else, I don't know how I'd be handling this, honestly.
You feel like she shaped you and
oh man, like
helping you prepare for.
It's weird because like I try to say clever things like as a motivational speaker sometimes, and I'm just saying stuff Courtney was like doing. Like and it's weird, like, and obviously losing someone you love like that is terrible, but like, you still, at least me, I still have a relationship with Courtney and I still talk to her all the time, and the way she's still impacting me day to day
that's beautiful,
is really cool. And I feel really close to her when I'm doing things like podcasting and public speaking, and I think I feel close to her because when I'm doing things like this, I think it helps other people, and that's what Courtney did best. And I don't know, I just trying to make her proud, and yeah.
I want to go into Blue a little bit
Yeah, thanks,
because
man.
I think he's I mean, call it what it is. He's a miracle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I've seen pictures of the accident, and
yeah. And I just,
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine losing my baby girl. Like I just couldn't imagine that. Like it would crush me more than anything. Like it would kill me to lose my wife. It would kill me to lose my brother, but I couldn't imagine losing my daughter. Like I just couldn't. And so, and I'm not saying that makes losing a wife or anything, but I think about my daughter. And so the relationship that you're able to still have with Blue, I mean, it's a miracle in itself to think that that little baby boy in that car was protected by something and he's still here. I mean, if that's not God, then I mean, there's something that is in store for him in his life that is going to be so phenomenal that he's going to come into and step into one day. And that's why he survived that. You know what I mean? Like God is preparing him for something incredible one day. And I don't think he even understands that. And he probably doesn't. And I guess that's kind of where I want to know is you're dealing with it, but then you have this little boy who, like, where's my sister and my brother? Like, where's my mom? You know, and you got to play that role of like grieving yourself, but like trying to help this little boy who I don't even know. Like, when my dad passed away, it's like Pap's in heaven, you know? And do they really understand?
Mhm.
You know, like they do, but to be in that, like that's trauma that I don't know you don't know how much he remembers or how much he doesn't remember, but like you have to be protective of that in him. And like, where is he at now, Adam? I mean, he's what? How old is he now? He's
6. He's almost
6
7.
now. Like, how is he doing? I mean,
Dude,
really?
he's doing it so good.
Yeah.
He's doing really good in school. He's on a basketball team, football team, and on a baseball team
That's
now.
awesome.
I got him a little dirt bike. We go one-wheeling a lot. And Blue was my hero. So if God saved him for anything, it was, I mean, he's already done it. And
Yeah. That's good, man.
I mean, he's not my hero just in terms of not putting a bullet in my head, but like, he gets me out of bed. I have a day job now just so I can tell my kid I'm going to work because I want him to understand work.
Yeah.
Like, he is the reason I do everything, really.
Yeah.
But
I'd say he's getting to that age now where he's starting to probably understand, like, wait a minute. This isn't something about, like, this is right.
Yeah.
This is off.
And I mean, so I tell Blue, I mean, I remember the first time he asked me, like, where are they?
Yeah.
But this goes back to the power of talking. We talk about him all the time.
Yeah.
We talk about his mom. We talk about Riggins. We talk about Frankie. We talk about Race. We talk about Ryder. All the time. When I tuck him into bed, we talk about him. I think that is so healthy for him. And then my therapist told me, he's like, do you cry in front of Blue? I'm like, no, I try to go to my room or to the bathroom or something to cry. He's like, that's okay, but every once in a while you should let Blue see you cry.
Yeah.
Because he needs to know it's okay to cry and be sad and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that was really shitty at first, but I think that helped. But plus he was so young, it's hard to know what he remembers and what he doesn't. But that kid is, he's everything to me, man. So
amazing.
Yeah.
I want to ask you an important question, Mason. I want your take on this because you're the type of person that lived it. And I feel like one of the biggest questions when it comes to God in the world is, how can God exist when all these bad things happen? And innocent people die, children die, wives die that don't deserve to die. You know, wrongfully convicted people go to prison innocent. Life's derailed. Children are molested. People aren't held accountable. Just these tough questions, man, that challenge God's existence. You lived through losing almost your whole family, and they didn't deserve to die. How's your take on are you angry with God? Did you cuss him out? I sure did. I've said things that I take back and I have to maybe go and answer for. I like to feel like I truly believe I'm washed by the blood of Christ, that I'm forgiven for the things I've told God in a 5x9 cell, and the things I've said to God that I would never say to him now because I've been instilled with the fear of God. But what was your conversation with God, man? Like if you had one?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of nights crying and praying to him and talking to him, and just never really heard anything. I think, dude, I don't have no clue if there's a God. Just have no idea. And honestly, it goes back to what I have control over. How much control does Mason Sawyer have over God in the sky? Absolutely zero.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that guy's up to, and he works in very mysterious ways. So it's not for me. I focus more on, this is my take of the accident. It doesn't mean absolutely anything. It means absolutely dog shit nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. And what I learned is, when I just laid in bed for a year and felt sorry for myself, that's what the accident meant. Because that's what was happening. When I started talking about it and accepting it and opening up and being vulnerable and starting a podcast and starting public speaking and flooded with all these messages of people being grateful, now that's what the car accident meant. It meant something good. But I realized it's up to me. And there's 1,000 stories like ours. Like, someone's been in your shoes.
Yeah.
Someone's been in your shoes. Someone's been in my shoes. And they all drank themselves, homeless, suicide, death. No one knows about them. No one tells those stories. But those stories happen. So it's up to you. It's up to me. I think I'm master of my fate. And so I'm going to focus on what I can control. And if I die and a guy up there says, you're going to go over here, I'm like, okay then. But I think I'm living a Christ-like life in terms of trying to help people, man. I'm just trying to help people.
And it's okay to wrestle with God, man. Like,
Yeah.
It's okay to wrestle with him because everybody.
I just got a lot of questions for that guy.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Because in Scripture it talks about he would rather have us hot or cold, not lukewarm.
Yeah.
Being lukewarm, they say that he'll spit you out, put you in the fire. What that means is it's that Christian that just puts up the front, right?
Yeah.
It's those people that capitalize on God for own public fame, and he'd rather have us hot, fully on fire for him, serving him with a pure intention heart, or he'd have us cold, somebody who's dark, cursing him out, saying, you know what, there ain't no God. Like, what do you mean, that dude in the sky? Like,
Yeah.
I don't believe in him.
I mean, God to me is me, you, Z. It's humanity. Like, if you ever been to those AA meetings, the importance of believing in a higher power, I absolutely believe in that. Like, you have to believe in something more than yourself. Like, I'm a huge believer in we is greater than me.
Yeah.
That's something that saved my life. Because when I wake up and I focus on me, I'm miserable. But when I focus on other people, it's good days. I'm happy and I feel like I have purpose. And I think that's more the message Jesus gave, and more than anything else.
Two greatest commandments
was the golden rule,
Yeah.
too, is, treat others how you want to be treated. And that I try to do that with everyone.
Yeah, for sure, man. And ultimately that's what he left us with.
Yeah.
And our own relationship with him and our own journey with faith, that's something we have a lifetime to figure out. And that's why, like, I'm not really into the whole push on people, right? Because I know that they wrestle with God. I wrestle with God. I know what it feels like to go through taking all of my burden to the cross daily. And I have to take my burden to the cross daily and pick up my cross, which is the things that that you have to do in order to live a Christ like. Because I promise you, bro, the moment you give yourself to Christ and the moment you get baptized, your life doesn't get easier. It gets actually harder.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually testimonies of people saying that, holy crap, I wasn't prepared for my life to get harder. But in reality, you're actually being refined in a process to do hard better. That's the biggest thing, is now you're doing it better. You're being molded into something that's greater than what you ever thought you would be. And the biggest thing with you, man, I think I commend you on, is that you're still open to understanding the purpose. Because sometimes I wrestled with the idea of, why do people have to die at a young age? They didn't live a full life. But then again, when I think of purpose, I come down, this is what my own personal belief is at the moment, is that maybe some people die at a young age because they've fulfilled their purpose already. Maybe they've died as a living sacrifice for the greater good of humanity. Maybe they've had to have died for a reason, like I have no other choice but to believe that there is a reason for it, until anything can say other, I'm right there. And so I don't know, man.
And I struggle with this too, though, because
it's okay to.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing.
It's
And I could be totally wrong. I don't know what the hell I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
no,
I don't
it's
know.
just it's you want to believe that things will in some way make
Be
sense,
okay.
or in some way, like they'll be okay. But I don't always I don't know, I don't always believe it's like God allowed them to pass away though either. Like I don't know, and maybe like this is just being, and this is honest. This is how I feel. Like the reality is, like I feel like the hospital killed my dad. Like we specifically said, don't put it. He doesn't want to be on a ventilator. If you put him on the ventilator, he's gonna die. Don't put him on the ventilator. In the middle of the night, 3 a.m., they put him on a ventilator without telling any of us.
Neglect and
so it was like, I blame them. Like, why couldn't my dad get ivermectin? Which, whatever you believe about it or not, I had COVID. I took ivermectin, and within 3 days, I was better. You're telling me my dad's on his deathbed, and you're telling me that you're not going to give him this drug that has been known to bring people out of their COVID stent. You're just going to let him die. Like, I don't have the power to say, well, let's give him this before and see. Like, so it's not like God, yeah, you know what? Maybe God was sparing him from something else. Maybe he did live his purpose. There's times where I'm like, the reality is I don't think I would ever be where I'm at in my faith if my dad would have not passed away.
yeah,
Right? That's the reality. Like, he challenged me, everything in my life. He challenged, but it wasn't accepted until he wasn't here anymore. And so it's like, no, like I don't believe all the time that God allowed your family to get in that car accident that day because like their purpose was fulfilled here. You probably don't believe that either, but like we also don't know that either. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's us selfishly being like, no, there was more of a purpose that he's still supposed to be here. So it's like, I feel both sides of it because yeah, I do believe maybe there's something that spared my dad. Maybe the cancer was going to spread worse. Maybe if my dad was going to, he was going to die a slow, miserable death of cancer, which would have been maybe worse. I don't know. But like, I'm torn in between of like, I want to believe that God allows things to happen according to what his plan is. But then I'm like, man, I don't know. There's times where I'm like, I feel like I want to blame somebody else. Like it wasn't him. Like how, here's what I'm like, well, my dad was the perfect example of what a godly man was supposed to be. Why him? Like that, I can't comprehend that. There's so many pieces of shit
that's how I
in
feel
the world.
about Courtney and my kids.
Yeah, that's what I can't comprehend that. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And you said it earlier, like, why did bad things happen to good people? I can't understand that. But I wrestle with this exact topic that we're talking about, wanting to believe that God has a purpose for these things. And I believe that, but I also want to blame somebody else because I feel like God's so good. Like, how does he allow that to happen? Or like, I don't know.
I just love that we can have a conversation though and have different
Yeah.
opinions. But like, I've not back to me real quick. I don't know anything. I don't know about the God thing, but like, it really. I mean, how many people has it helped? So like, who am I to say there isn't a God? All I can say is for me and my grief, it didn't help me get out of bed. What helped me get out of bed is what's in my control. What would Courtney do? What would Race do? What would my kids do? What would they want me to do? What would Ryder want me to do? Type of thing. But to each their own, man. And if you want to do the God thing, that's great. And I said it before, but I'll just say it again. I do think you have to believe in something, some higher power. You have to believe in something bigger than yourself.
Does it ever make sense though?
No, I don't think it does.
Like, does it ever make sense?
This is the complexity.
Until it's done.
This is the complexity of a divine creator. Okay, why do you think that there's so many denominations in Christianity? Because the moment that man stepped into God, then now people want to conform to what man wants and not what God wants. And so people have created these denominations. Like, I'm a non-denominational Christian. I go to non-denominational church. I don't do the whole religion thing. My faith is my internal relationship with my God. Like, that's who I speak to. That's what I do. Is in it. If I miss a church on Sunday, I'm not, oh my gosh, I'm going to hell. You know what I mean? And there are people that think that. Like, we live in a world now. I've sent a video to you the other day where teaching the youth that, like, why do you deserve to go to heaven? Well, I deserve to go to heaven because I'm a good person. I didn't steal. I go to church. I give to the needy. I give to home. I give to the homeless. I give to this. I give to that. I'm a good person. There's nobody else that deserves to go to heaven more than me. That's what one kid said. I'm like, you've been conditioned to believe just being a good person is going to get you into heaven. And then there was another person, like, there was a man who sacrificed everything for me so I could get to heaven. And what rang in my head was sacrifice equaled a purpose. And now I have all of these small things, and the only way to weigh the evidence of why we do what we do and why we're still here is just what's on the table, which is all of these sacrifices, all of this pain, all of this loss, all of this grief, right? All of these nightmares, all of these, man, should I get out of bed? Should I not get out of bed? Do I need to live for them? Do I need to do this? All of this stuff gets put on the table. And what's the common denominator? Is that I need to pile it all up and find the purpose in it. And I think that's a never-ending pursuit. And it's okay to wrestle with it. God wants us to wrestle with it. Because I explained earlier, he'd rather have us hot than cold. Because the cold person, he can still work with. The lukewarm person, he can't. Because your life's already been deprived or been delusionized to living a fake life, right? So there's nothing ever going to change your mind, right, until you hit rock bottom and you become cold. Now, what I want to get to now, and I want to change the speed a little bit and getting into where you're at now in life. And you were touching on earlier, what would Courtney want me to do? And think we know that you have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right. Talk to us a little bit talk to us about Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy's amazing, you know. Couple nights ago, maybe 3 nights ago, I'm really missing Riggins. So my grief, usually it's just all 5 of them just kind of weighing on my brain and heart.
Right.
But some days it's like, oh, this is a Frankie day. For whatever reason, like maybe I saw Blippy or whatever, something Frankie like, and it just whatever. For the last couple nights, it just felt a lot of Riggins on my heart and talking to him. And Blue, getting older, he looks so much like Riggins. It sounds like him. So it's so cool, but at the same time, it just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And I also haven't done any public speaking or podcasting in a while. And if I haven't talked about it in a while, I can feel it like build up, like the anxiety and the anger. And so one night, I just start crying, which is normal. And Sammy just kind of holds me and cries with me, and nothing's said. We both know. And she is crying too. And I think it takes a special someone to put up with someone like me. And, I have a lot of grief. I don't even know what the right word is. Grief, baggage. I don't know. But like, she's done such a good job of just holding space with me and just letting me continue to mourn and grief, but also understanding that I can still love again and have to keep going. And
Right.
the easy thing with Sammy is she's so good with Blue. Blue loves her and she loves Blue. And so that makes everything easy. And me and Courtney, we actually went on a vacation maybe like 2 weeks before the car accident. And on that vacation, a friend of mine passed away. And so we had like in-depth conversations, like what we would do if we passed away.
It's so
Wow.
weird. So
Yeah.
And so,
Oh man.
and obviously, I mean, we talked about how we'd want the other person to, I mean, we didn't talk about having 2 dead kids and a dead brother and nephew as well. Like that wasn't part of the conversation, but
Yeah.
I'm grateful we had those conversations. And Courtney was just, she understood it, man. Like she wanted to just play kickball with the kids for her birthday. She didn't want to go to Hawaii. I saved up money to take her out on her 16th birthday, and she chose KFC. I'm like, no, I saved up $300. We can go wherever. She's like, no, I want KFC. Like she was just down to earth, simple, loved me and loved our kids.
That's a rock star.
Yeah, she was beautiful in and out, man.
how did that relationship start? Because me and Greg actually had a conversation about this right before you pulled up, and just talking about your situation a little bit, and you being in a new relationship. And I actually had an experience in my life where I was in a relationship for about 2 years, and I lost that significant other as well. And so
Yeah.
I know that your situation, I mean, you were with this person for multiple years.
8
I mean,
years?
this was like
Since you're in high
married
school?
yeah, this is your high school sweetheart, right? This is, somebody you started a family with,
Mm.
and really, I don't probably never saw your life any other way until this day. And so, like for me, I know after Danny had passed away, which was the girl who I was in a relationship with in college who passed, I had a lot of guilt of like, she like look at that on me and like,
Yeah.
frown, like, is this not appropriate? Like, is this cheating? Is this,
Yeah.
and what has that been like for you? Because I know, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are in the situation, my mom's in the situation, right? Where my mom's 60 years old, and I don't know it. They probably never had that conversation. Like, what would you want me to do? But like, I had to have the same conversation with her. Like, you'll know, like, if somebody's supposed to come in your life, and God's going to bring somebody into your life, you'll know. And it seems like that the person you're with now is that person, because, bro, what other girl wants to deal with that? Like, I mean, call it what it is. Like, the 100% truth.
It's not for everyone.
It takes a very special individual
Yeah.
to be like, dude, I'm gonna love you right here in your mess, and I don't care what baggage you're holding. I'm gonna love you right now, and like, not trying to take away in any way, shape, or form from your love for your wife and your kids. Like, that takes a special, selfless, just very unique individual to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And love you in that way. How did that relationship even like start? Like, where did that come from? Because it was probably like a weird thing for you too. Like, I kind of think maybe this girl's like attractive, but like, is this wrong? Like, I'm sure you have had all these thoughts. Like,
I have.
what has that been like for you? Because I know that's probably been a journey in itself. And
Yeah, I think so. I love stoicism. Speaking of being stoic, and you guys ever seen a Gladiator movie?
Oh yeah.
When Russell Crowe drops that line, he says, "When death smiles upon you, all man can do is smile back."
Mm.
That's a Marcus Aurelius quote. And Courtney dies, and totally have the same thoughts you have. Like, okay, I'll just never date anyone ever again.
yeah,
And I think the quote "smiling back at death," what that means to me is living life for the fullest. Like, as bad as my heart got completely shattered and broken, if I'm truly going to smile back at this thing and honor anything Courtney and I had, isn't to never fall in love again, to never step back into the ring again, that's how we're going to honor it. Like, to me, in my mind, to truly smile back at this thing is fuck you. I can keep going. And Courtney loves me enough to understand it. And Sammy loves me enough to understand it. And I think I owe it to Courtney to put my heart out there again.
Yeah.
To try again. Knowing it could... Dude, I lost him in a sandstorm. What a random... Who dies in a sandstorm?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so now I'm dealing with this anxiety of life that Blue could be taken by anything. Choking on food, steps off the curb, whatever. Like, now I'm dealing with this anxiety I've never dealt before of anything could happen to any good person for any rhyme or reason.
I feel that. And
I just ran from anything that would put me in danger ever again for so long. I'm just not going to do it. And then I realized, like, this isn't smiling back. This isn't actually honoring anyone. I'm just not trying again.
That's right.
And so that's how I see it.
That's right.
But despite that outlook on life, I still have ebbs and flows of guilt, and maybe Courtney isn't liking it, or I don't know. I'd be lying to you if I didn't have those thoughts from time to time, and guilt runs through my veins very thick, so there's no getting away from that one.
What was the number one thing that Courtney wanted you to be while you were married together?
Good dad.
Good dad?
And then good husband, probably.
Good husband? Did she ever want you to be happy?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I had this conversation with my wife not too long ago, and I was like, she asked me, she's like, would you remarry if I died? And I'm like, well, you want me to be happy? And she's like, yeah, I do. I was like, well, I would want you to be happy. And if that means that you fell in love and that you're happy, I want you to be happy. And so I think if Courtney really, really, truly believed in your happiness, she's smiling down on you, giving you that blessing that, hey, as long as you're happy.
Yeah.
You
and
know what I mean?
That's what we talked about on that little trip we had before the accident.
Yeah.
I mean, is there really another answer? Like, yeah, of course. I think
I want you to be miserable.
I think everyone would eventually say,
absolutely.
like if that actually had happened, but it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be guilt-free. It still hurts. And
yeah. Because you almost feel like it's still fresh, like you're still married to her.
The other thing I learned, though, is this is a life sentence.
Yeah.
This grief, like, it ain't going away. So, like, am I going to be miserable in love again or miserable and not love again?
Yeah.
It's not like either way, I'm going to be miserable.
What's going on with your life now?
Public speaker.
You said you're a pool guy.
Yeah. So if I'm not public speaking or podcasting, I'm cleaning pools, baby.
That's cool. I mean, that's cool because
so I drop Blue off at school at 9, clean pools, and then I go pick him up at 3:30, and yeah. I didn't want to work while Blue's out of school.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I know what I was saying. Okay, so
let's hear it.
So when you're it kind of hits you late. So there was a period. I don't know what happened. I was.
Hey, you're
went
good,
off on
man.
a tangent there.
Dude, it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
You feel like there was a period after my dad passed for probably about a year where I kept feeling like I'm gonna come out of this, like it was like a long dream.
Oh,
and
man.
like it was like I would. Honestly, it was the second you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I can't even, like, this is real.
Yeah, they die every day.
But it was like there was this period of where it was like reality almost felt fake, like not real. And I think that was in that period of time where I was doing nothing about it, right? And like now I feel like my life is wanting to make him proud, is wanting to make Courtney smile and be like, okay, you're not laying in bed drinking your life. I'm not sitting here drinking my life away, doing nothing with my life, right?
Yeah.
But there was a period, and I was curious if you experienced that, where it was like, it seemed like a year. And I think I had to be so strong when it happened that like because I was in Kentucky for like, 6 months, like, and then I came back here and it all like settled in, right?
Yeah.
There was like this year of just
the shock kind of wore off.
Like it was like it felt like a sick dream. Like I was gonna wake up.
I thought that for so long. Like, I'm gonna wake up. Like, I'm just gonna wake up. This can't be real. Yeah.
In his dream, you're like, Did you ever find yourself just going through her stuff? Like
Oh yeah,
going through her clothes and just
picture. I mean,
like
I just
walking in y'all's room? It's like,
I mean, strangers would walk into the room and I'd see Courtney's face. Like I would, and
yeah.
I had that for a little
Yeah.
bit. Or when people call me Court,
Yeah.
like that would just send me into a
Okay.
crying fit.
well, Gabriel,
then- Yeah, reality.
yeah.
Yeah, time doesn't heal all wounds, but it does settle them in.
Yeah.
And this is nowhere near what you went through, but Gabriel would talk about that with me when I was in prison, and my family described me getting sent away to prison, not knowing if I was going to be there for a couple years or 25 years. I would get out at 44, or if I would die in there, somebody would do something to me. They had no idea. And I think that scared and terrified my family the most, is that my safety wasn't actually in my hands. It was in everybody else's hands, because in prison, when things pop off. Like there's no control. Like the guards don't care if there's a riot, they're going to let the riot happen. And now it's just like everybody for themselves. And so going through all that, Gabriel was super scared and all that, but she said it felt like you died. It felt like when I would come home and I would go into your closet and just like take your Letterman jacket out, and she just cry. She's like, you're not here. And my dad was the same way. I got to look through some of my dad's stuff and some of his clothes, and I could smell my dad. And, it haunts you. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know what it is. It just breaks something inside of
I
you.
just think it's something about it being something about death being final.
Yeah, that's it.
In terms of this life here, that you just can't comprehend until you experience it as close as some of us have, as you have. And I always said, it's like, if you die as a grandma or grandpa, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. Like, it's sad, but my grandpa's funeral was a lot different than my dad's funeral, right? Just he was 87 years old. Like what more could you want? Like,
Celebration.
at that point it's like, amazing.
Yeah.
But, I think it's something about it being final that it's just hard, man. It's so final, and it's just there's nothing. And again, you want to have one more conversation.
Yeah.
You just want to be able to just say one more thing, or just hug him just one more time, or you just want one more second. That you don't get that. And there's something about wrestling with that we said it in the beginning. It's like, you never are ever going to get over. You just learn to kind of embrace it and just kind of deal with it and continue to walk with it. And I think the best thing you can do is talk about it and share about it and speak about it, because, I still get emotional every time I talk about it, because I'm still dealing with it.
And talking about it makes it real.
Yeah.
Which
terrifies
the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you getting molested. How hard is that to talk about?
Yeah.
Because once you do, it's real, and then it's embarrassing and all the other things too. But what's that? I always mess it up, but there's like this quote that says there's two dogs inside of you. Which one are you going to feed? Whatever one you feed is going to win out versus the whatever one. And I honestly think it's backwards. Like, if the part of you that's angry, mad, sad, bargaining, all those parts of you, you need to let them talk. You need to talk. You need to talk to them. You need to feed them a little bit. Let some anger out. Because if you don't feed them, they're going to grow. They're going to get huge, and they're going to eat everything else up inside you. And you're going to go down in flames of anger, and it's not good. So I think you have to let all your emotions have a day in the sun. And that's something that therapy taught me. Is my therapist like, hey, let's talk to the guy that wants to kill himself inside your head today. Let's talk to the anger guy. Let's talk to the guy that just wants to numb everything. Let's talk to the guy that wants to find the beauty of it. Let's talk to him. I'm talking like, So my therapist did a good job of all these parts of you have a valid voice and a valid reason. The guy who wants to kill you and yourselves has a valid reason. So you need to talk to him and say, hey, you're an important part of us. We need you. Just not doing a good job right now. We need to find a different role for you.
We need to channel this a
Yeah,
little differently. Right,
we
that's
love
right.
the energy and passion, but we need to shift this
That's
into
right.
like,
That's good.
no, and like, it sounds weird, but I read this book called No Bad Parts, part of my therapy, and talking to and naming these parts and giving them an identity and letting them have a voice has really helped me, because in the past when I didn't do that, it was self-destruction. I'd get so mean towards people and say mean things just to make them feel bad, and that just makes everything worse.
Yeah.
So talk about it, man. I'm so glad
That's
you
good,
said
man.
that,
That's
because
good.
that's the first step.
It'd be better for you to be a screamer than a steamer.
I like that.
Yeah, better for you to be a screamer. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Talk about it. Don't let it steam up.
Yeah.
Because when you steam up, you
And, like,
blow.
And that's what I noticed when we were having our conversation about God.
Yeah.
Like we're all kind of doing our own opinion about it, but you got to talk about how it helped you in prison. I don't know if you even noticed, but you got to let some anger out. Like, I don't know, man, I'm actually kind of pissed. I'm mad at the hospital. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm over here talking about, I don't even know whatever I was saying. But the point is like, we all have these different emotions within us. And I think you got to talk to all of them.
So I mean, this is kind of a good segue to end it. I mean, we've enjoyed having you on here, but I do want you to give like the audience one last thing for the person who
like look in the camera and say,
yeah, because I think I do believe that there's going to be somebody watching this right now that just got that call that may be dealing with this, or this is something that's been a tragedy that they face in their life, or just dealing with grief and death as a whole. What would your core message be to that person who may be in the same situation that you were in July 5th, 2021?
I think, oh man. Well, first of all, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So since I started talking about my thing on my podcast, I've met people like me. Like I've met Craig Lithgow, I've met Jeff Olson, I've met Curry Bolger. I met all these people. I have to go to Kansas City, did a podcast with Curry. She lost mom, husband, 2 kids in a tornado. Just whipped by her house, boom, killed them all.
Wow.
And so the whole reason I bring all this up is I've met people like me. And so there's going to be another Mason Sawyer. And so if I can be some type of a helpful resource for them, like Craig from Australia has been for me, or Curry, or Jeff Olson, or the Graphs, or all these other people I've had on my podcast, Jillian Tink, I can just go down the line. If you handle it well, you're going to be able to help someone that feels as miserable as you do right now. I don't even know if I'm making sense. But I guess I don't know if timing matters. So like if you just lost a kid, I wouldn't tell you this. I might give you some time. But my favorite quote and the best message I have is life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're going to do about it. And I'm sorry for your 10%. It wasn't fair. It wasn't meant to happen. It's not your fault. It's done. If there's anything I could do to save my family, I'd do it. I'd switch them spots. I'd go to hell. Whatever it takes, I would do it. What can I do? What's in my power? And focus on that. And that's all I got.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for tuning into the Get Back podcast. We hope you enjoyed this message. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow the Get Back podcast on all platforms. We hope you guys have a great rest of your week and see you next time. Thanks.